our third optional live class, and we're going to be talking about, continue our conversation, talking about the projects, and we'll talk about the projects up to the end of midterm, so up to session 7. And so you have 3 big projects. If we kind of trace this out, I'll do an outline. Back on session 2, you did 3 10-point postings. Do you have that? Pull out your outlines for instructional leadership and make sure that I'm staying with the outline that you have for the class. So instructional leadership session 2 might have been your first 10-point posting, I think. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so you had a 10-point post here, your first one. And then session 3, was that project number 1?
Yes.
Okay. Or midterm, project 1, or formerly called midterm number 1. And for instructional leadership, project number 1, you had 2 options. If you're a school administration major, you're supposed to look at a teacher growth plan, a teacher evaluation and growth plan, including the steps of due process in case the plan wasn't met. So this is one of the toughest things for educational leaders to do, for school administrators, or sometimes even department chairs or people who are in charge of curriculum have to take part in that. And for the non-school administration majors, you could look at a growth plan for yourself and or a team or community member who needs help in better serving the community. And that could be for your town or your tribe or your church or your company. So the main thing here is that you help someone grow. And if they can't grow, that you help them make other choices in what, either their job or their career or what they're doing. So, probably your school has a very specific format for doing teacher growth plans. Now, if you took my Fundamentals of Public School Administration class, or if you're taking it this semester along with this class, I allow you in there to use the Popeye formula. But probably your school uses something that is different than the Popeye formula. So for this class, I would say actually go do some research and find out what the format for teacher growth plans are in your district. What is the format? What is the format in your district? And how is it done? And what steps do they go through to help a teacher to grow, if this is a new teacher, or even if it's an older teacher who might be burned out or who's having problems, a weak teacher. So, and then what happens if the teacher fails to grow? What steps are taken then? So you want this to be successful, but if the teacher is not successful or refuses to try or doesn't have the ability to grow enough, how does your district follow up on that? What is the process? So if you're not working in a district, you might want to go to the district in which you live and interview a principal or a superintendent or assistant superintendent to find out about teacher growth plans. Now, you can actually use an actual growth plan if they want to share one with you, but if you do that, be sure to change the names, protect the confidentiality of all the people involved. Otherwise, you might have them just lead you through a hypothetical growth plan of what they would do. So that growth plan was project number 1, and that was a teacher or an individual growth plan. And then on session 4, do you have session 4 there?
Mm-hmm.
Session 4, I think, was 3
10-point postings.
10-point postings, okay? So 3 10-point postings. And if you were really looking ahead, you use those 3 10-point postings to come up with some research and ideas for the second big project that came up the following session, session 5, and that is a plan of instruction of how to differentiate instruction for an at-risk student. And there's several ways you could do this. I mean, obviously, the one that principals need the most, if you're a school administration major, you really need to know the process of doing an individualized education plan. And you can either look at a specific plan, but once again, changing the names of the people involved, protecting their confidentiality. So you could introduce it, write an introduction, then you could copy the plan with the names changed, and then do a conclusion. So you would write this part, copy and paste this part, and write this part, okay? And be sure to put a cover sheet on it, and references of whoever shared this with you. If you want to look up, go to your special education teacher and look at any guidelines they have on the referral process. That's another way you could approach this. But you really want to become familiar with the referral process and all of the law surrounding an IEP. This is one of the areas that principals will have, it's your biggest chance of not doing what you need to do for your students. It's a place where you can get in legal trouble if you don't make sure that this is followed correctly. So maybe if you were really working smarter and not harder, you might have used 1 or 2 or 3 of these 10-point postings to go look up some resources about the referral process and IEPs. And you could have either done that by looking online or looking at some of the manuals, looking at some of the articles on this, or you could go to EBSCOhost on the online library here at NSU, or actually go to the library, or you could interview special education people, your school administration, or maybe a teacher who's been through an IEP recently. Interview them, and those could be your outside resources on this. If you did your 10-point postings on this, which would have been a really smart thing to do, then you'll have things to plug into your paper and some outside resources to use already. So that's session 5. Now session number 6, look at your calendar, make sure I'm correct on this. Is session number 6 3 10-point postings?
Yes.
Okay, so 3 10-point postings. Once again, I mean, you don't have to do this. You can do your 10-point postings on anything that you feel will help you the most related to school leadership, to instructional leadership. But if you're really wanting to work smarter and not harder, I would do 3 10-point postings that will help me for the following session's project, for that big project that comes up on session 7. And session 7 is doing a curriculum improvement, an idea for a curriculum improvement plan. So do you notice that these things carry over? Oh, by the way, if you're a non-school administration major rather than an IEP, you might want to come up with a plan that helps an at-risk individual to help serve in your community. And on this one, instead of a curriculum here, you might actually want to come up with a subsystem of some, rather, you wouldn't call it curriculum, you would call it the method or the process that some aspect of your community uses. For example, in the tribe, maybe if you work in a casino, a system that you use to improve security, curriculum for that. You may not call it a curriculum, you may call it a methodology or a system, but it could be a systems improvement rather than a curriculum improvement for people who are non-education administration majors. But this curriculum improvement plan is going to relate, it's a thread that like all of these big projects, this teacher improvement plan, the student improvement plan, and this can be a student who needs referral either to special education or maybe to gifted and talented, who's bored with regular classes. That's an at-risk student as well. And then for this session number 7, the curriculum improvement plan, this is something that's going to come up again and again. You have to do some sort of curriculum improvement plan in your research class. So hopefully, if you haven't taken research already, you might want to think ahead of what you might do in research. You're going to do a curriculum improvement plan in the fundamentals of public school administration class. So in that class, you simply take it through the steps of Popeye. And you're going to do a curriculum improvement plan in curriculum. So if you have one big curriculum improvement project at your school, one area where students are having the most problems, say on state testing or in other areas, then this might be an ongoing project. And it may wind up even being the one that you expand and do for your internship. And if you're doing internship this semester, then go ahead and start writing up a short version of that plan for this paper. The curriculum improvement plan is one of the biggest things that you do throughout our program, is learning how to be a curriculum leader. And as a matter of fact, helping teachers who are weak and students who are weak through the curriculum is something that these two things might wind up being part of a bigger paper that you do when you do your internship. But at this point, there are going to be 3 separate papers, one on teacher growth, one on differentiated instruction for an at-risk student, and one for a curriculum improvement plan. Using these 3 10-point postings, if you're really working smart, using those 10-point postings to gather background for each of those projects. So I hope that's a good idea that will help you.